My grandparents died from carbon monoxide poisoning. So, yeah, all these narratives. But I tried to bring them together, but it's also sort of looking at like post-World War II trauma as it sort of was inherited by the Vietnam War, and then later by the war that, you know, the war, not war, that we're constantly in. And so, so this is my first piece, and then it gets lighter, I promise. And I'll explain the dress, too, if you don't mind. Okay, here we go. Enough time. There is a cold river being pulled through the eye of a needle. Hands scarred by fire from putting a baby out. White nightgown up with a match. These fingers pinch and pull a silver thread down my back. She is my grandmother. I am 7. She is making me a black velvet dress for Christmas, but hasn't the time for a zipper. She is married to a man who at 12 tosses his 5 siblings from a second-story window before dragging his father's kerosene-doused body from their burning house. Flesh separating from bone, a paper man. A rasp-breath effort, that final unsaid word. His father will melt in his arms, stick to his skin. He will drop bombs in Vietnam. She will sell vacuums door to door with 2 girls, twins, a baby trailing behind her. Her children, curious matches. Her mother will have red moons burned into her belly with a cigarette lighter. Her sister at 50 won't know why. They will leave their mother in a dentist's waiting room. They will be hours late in picking her up. A cup of blood in her mouth. She will say nothing when they fetch her. Her husband will use his false teeth as a puppet, chase after his wife with her own bite. I want to love her gums, but she refuses to undress her mouth in front of me. At Christmas dinner, when the conversation is years away from me, I arch my back to break the dress seam, for the sound of tearing open, for the attention of coming apart. I think it will be funny. This is the only time I will see my grandmother cry. Later she will tell me stories of the Great Depression, how she spent money to see a flushing toilet. She will have me piss in a pot to understand. She will promise to bear a smile when I turn 16. She will look at her hands and say, "We do what we can, even when it isn't enough." You understand? I will nod yes and mean no. She will die when I am 13. I'll never feel like I loved her enough. I'll love her more than any. So, I'm in a paper dress that's made up of different sort of performance images of myself. So I'm dressed in myself tonight, which is so many layers of dirty. But hopefully you'll forgive my dirty. And then also I have a small little boy who's 5 years old. It's very hard to travel away from him. So I put him in my suitcase to bring to you tonight. Can I pull him out of my suitcase? Yeah. So this is a body map of my 5-year-old son. So tonight, part of memory is trying to chart the places that we've been and how we get there and how we get out of them and how we get back to them. So it's kind of like how we leave and then return. So basically for the reading tonight, each of his little body parts sort of have like a coordinates. So if you want to yell out a coordinates, because a funny thing about memory, it has a lot to do with like the order of things. And the order of things can change things entirely. So, so this little scarf is actually different faces of me, and I sewed it together on the airplane here. And there was this little old man sitting next to me. He was so angry. First of all, I had like gotten a whole bunch of like razor blades and scissors onto the airplane, so he was upset about that, which says a lot about white privilege. And And then he's watching me like sew my eyeballs together to make a paper scarf, and he's like mumbling to himself, because he won't talk to me, but he'll talk to himself about it. And then finally the woman in the row behind us was like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm making a paper dress." And she's like, "You're going to Seattle? Don't go outside." And I thought that was perfect. It was perfect. So sometimes it's just the context of who's in the room. So what I'm hopeful for is you guys will help me out, and you'll just scream out a coordinate. So it'd be like left leg, right eye. So just scream out any part of my son's body, and I'll read the poem that corresponds with that.
Abdomen.
Okay. Ooh, okay. Matt, the bull vampire. The bull vampire hasn't a picture. Its presence a sign on the perforated road. Traps of fornication intuited. Children letter their way past adult myths. What the children can't see comes easiest for me. Golden heat, Zeus building Europe in the thicket between my legs. So many thorns to cut before a city rises. My pulse in the bull's mouth, my life his helmeted idea, freedom of interpretation, of having no choice. The back of the beast is a boat, floating beneath all surface of chance. I hear water voices of children calling. The cow drowns in its own blood, swim towards a breathable warmth. Okay, so I love your claps because they're really loving, but you don't have to do it. But if you'll call out 2 more coordinates, I got time for 2 more. Oh, heart. Oh, this one's so good. Because I didn't write it. So my son is like, "I want my heart to be a book." And I'm like, "Well, what do you want to put in your heart then? What's in the book of your heart?" And he's like, "Love." I'm like, "Okay, so what does love look like?" And he's like, "It kind of looks like Jesus." And I'm like, "Jesus?" "Okay, what does Jesus look like?" And he's like, "Well, I'm not sure. It could be the Jesus in the rock, or it could be the Jesus that's in your heart or my heart, but not the bad guy's heart. But there's another Jesus coming, and I think there's Buddha too, but I'm not sure how to draw him." And he ended up having a full-on like breakdown, and I felt really bad about that. So instead he just wrote, "A star is strung to the web of absence." He's a pretty smart 5-year-old. So, okay, one more?
Right shoulder.
Right shoulder. Okay. Stilling the worlds of children. I've begun to take their drawings, collect them in a cage. I like to hear them sing impossible tones of endlessness, time suspended, bass bars on a chain. I've begun to watch my teeth rub to knives, face crack wide with steps towards ground. All of me going to the depths and edges. Birds in me are pacing their beak bleached to fangs. Miss says if I bury such teeth, alphabets will sprout. But I do not long for letters. I want flight. I ask for wings. Children draw 2 continents shaped as lungs, oceans between waves, jagged as stairs. They say, "Jump." So thank you. So I have the incredible honor to now welcome